Hello, it's your Uncle Spurt here, and today we're having a good hard gander at the fresh new Huawei MatePad Pro 13.2 PaperMatte Edition. Like the old MatePad Pro 13.2, it's a bloody massive 13-inch rectangle. Great news if you're an owl git with buggered eyes like your Uncle Spurt. But this 2025 model also boasts a slick anti-reflective PaperMatte screen, so you're all sorted for those outdoor excursions to the pub or the chip shop or Anyway, here's what I reckon of the Huawei MatePad Pro 13.2 PaperMatte tablet, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now first up, what do you actually get bunged in the box besides of course the Huawei MatePad Pro 2025 PaperMatte Edition? Well, you've got yourself one rather delightfully lovely clean and cloth. I'll keep your PaperMatte Pro from getting all gunky. Huawei has also kindly chucked in its keyboard dock. You do actually get a power adapter bunged in there as well, 100 watts no less, and as you can see there, Type A and Type C USB compatibility. And you've also got yourself a USB Type A to Type C cable. So first up, this 2025 model sports a very similar design to the older MatePad Pro 13.2. Now, as you can see there's pretty much no wasted space on that front end. The bezels are incredibly skinny on all sides. But of course, despite this, the MatePad Pro is still an absolute whopper at 13 inches. You'll certainly struggle to squeeze this thing into a more compact rucksack, despite the fact it's stupidly skinny, once again, just 5.5 millimeters thick. And it weighs just 580 grams, which ain't bad again for a tablet this sort of size, though yes, if you are clutching it one-handed for a wee while, we start to feel the strain a bit, especially if your idea of arm exercise is just lifting pints to your mouth. And it certainly looks pretty slick from the front. The only problem with those skinny bezels is sometimes it means that your thumb kind of intrudes on that display and it becomes completely unresponsive. So what I've learned to do is clutch it the other way around, so you've got the notch underneath your thumb, and that solves that problem. Because yeah, basically you got no chance of wrapping your hand right around the back of this thing for a secure clutch unless you happen to have mitts like Andre the Giant. So yeah, it's probably the first time I've actually been happy that there's a notch on one of these things. It's quite a dinky one there, as you can see, it barely intrudes on the display. It's not like an iPhone style dangling in there like a massive ugly scrotum. Now the MatePad Pro 13.2 sports a magnesium alloy frame, very skinny as you can see there, slightly curved as well for a more comfortable clutch, and it is a matte finish as well so it doesn't get all grubby and greasy. And then around back you've got a glass fibre arse, which certainly here in Blighty is available in one colour, this here Goldie Effort. Again, it's a matte finish with a kind of textured pattern on it, which I rather like. Again, pretty good at repelling those greasy, grimy fingerprints and everything as well. Still got a bit of sticker residue on the back here though. Apparently you can get that off by wiping it with spirits, but frankly, it's just a waste of spirits. By the time I'm finished with them, there's now in the bottle but vapours. And you've got the usual dinky camera bump tucked away in one corner, which does mean there's a slight bit of jiggle when this thing is laid flat on a desk or a table. Not much at all, but it's slightly irritating. I'd rather there just wasn't a rear camera, and also no water resistance for this tablet either. If you want a fully water resistant tablet, you'll have to go for something like the Samsung Galaxy Tabs instead. Now to unlock your Huawei MatePad Pro 13.2 2025, you do have an edge-mounted fingerprint sensor built into the power button, basically, and it's not the most responsive in the world. Sometimes it takes a second or so to unlock this tablet, but as you can see, they're generally reliable. And then you're into Huawei's good old HarmonyOS version 4.3, and this is same as ever. If you've used the likes of Android before, you'll be reasonably at home because the layout is pretty similar, certainly in terms of the settings menu. Got usual customization, you can turn on an always on display. Although sadly, I can't find a way to actually make these always on. The only way you can actually display them is by tapping the screen a couple of times, and then after 10 seconds or so, they just bugger right off again. Really friggin' annoying. You can mess around with the icons, the wallpapers, general layout, and of course there's usual online themes that you can download. Your Uncle Spurt's just going to stick with his nerdy anime shenanigans though. And if you do own other Huawei devices, then they all communicate seamlessly thanks to good old Huawei Super Device. On the storage side, you've got a choice of 256 gigs or 512 gigs of the stuff. Sadly, that's not expandable via any form of memory card. There's no tray you can pop out, and likewise that means no SIM support either. There's not even any eSIM support on here. It's just Wi-Fi all the way, so at least you can mobile hotspot when you're on the go, but that's about it. But of course, one of the prime problems with HarmonyOS is the complete lack of Google support. So you won't see the Google Play Store on here. What you get is the Huawei App Gallery, which is sadly lacking when it comes to a lot of the usual favorites like Spotify, Netflix, etc, etc. If you want a bit of all that, one of your main options on here is to dive into a bit of Petal search. And this can locate APK files for you online to install. Obviously not quite as safe and secure as a dedicated app store. So a wee bit of caution, certainly advisable. You don't want to give your shiny new tablet the digital equivalent of the clap. But as always with these MatePad tablets, very quick and simple to get a bit of split screen multitasking on the go. And quickly and easily resize the different windows, etc. You can quickly and easily save your favorite combos, otherwise flip the apps around. And certainly this massive 13-inch display is basically made for multitasking. Certainly more than it is for kicking back with a bit of cinematic fare, because you do get some pretty thick letterboxing above and below. Unless you happen to be watching something that's made more for TV with a more square aspect ratio. But this 13.2-inch OLED display absolutely made for outdoors use thanks to that PaperMatte finishing. And basically what Huawei has done is slapped a textured multi-layered surface on top of the panel. So as you can see there, I've got some really powerful studio lights beaming full brightness onto this thing, and it barely makes an impact at all. Now on top of that, this is just on medium brightness levels at the moment. If I boost that all the way up, it's absolutely eye-searing. And that once again helps to counter any kind of glare, so you've got perfect visibility outdoors, even if you happen to live in Barbados. This is mere rhetoric, of course, as you might have been able to tell from my slightly pallid skin tone, the fact that I look like Casper the Friendly F***ing Ghost. I do not live in Barbados, I live in the UK, where it's currently very grey and very foggy. But you know, simulating that sun with all these studio lighting, I can tell that it should be pretty good for the people who do like to venture outdoors and who live somewhere that's slightly less murky than f***ing Mordor. Thankfully, those visuals remain crystal clear despite this multi-layered panel. You've got a sharp 2880 by 1920 pixel resolution, no distortion at all. The only time that screen will ever look blurry is if you smash 12 pints of Strongbow. Viewing angles also nice and wide, no issues there. Perhaps this panel isn't quite as vibrant as the non-PaperMatte version, which I reviewed about a year or so ago. But you know, those colours are still reasonably poppy. They're certainly not dull and lifeless. And you've also got 144Hz refresh support here, so you can really appreciate the banging super smooth graphics of whatever the hell this is. And yes, you've got the usual multi-speaker setup here on the Huawei MatePad Pro 13.2, just like before. Absolutely booming when you max out that volume. Nice crisp clarity as well, reasonably bassy. It's very kind. The amount of inappropriate content is staggering. I've heard the word genitals too many times in this channel. I am unsubscribing. Oh dear. So seriously, you could be out there in the middle of King's Cross bloody station and still clearly hear whatever it is you happen to be watching. Although it is slightly annoying that you get absolutely bugger all headphone jack action here, so you'll have to use a dongle, otherwise just stick with Bluetooth headphones, which is what I've done. Absolutely no woes there. And what about that smart magnetic keyboard? Well, this comes in two sections, as you can see there. You've got the keyboard bit and the bit that slaps on the back there. This helps to prop the tablet up, and then the actual keyboard bit communicates wirelessly using NearLink technology, so you don't actually have to have them physically paired. But you do once again have a lovely bit of magnet action if you do want to stick them together. And because it's NearLink technology, there's zero latency between tapping those buttons and actually seeing a reaction on screen, which is fantastic. The actual board itself is a good size because, of course, it's a 13.2-inch tablet, so you've got that space replicated here. As you can see, those keys stretch edge to edge, no wasted space again. Got dedicated function keys, the lot. Even the cursor keys here in the bottom right corner have got a reasonable amount of size to work with. There's a couple of little bugbears like the single row enter key, but nothing really to moan about here. You've even got respectable travel for a simple keyboard dock thing. The touchpad ain't brilliant, but you know, it's there if you need it. Otherwise, just tap the bloody screen, you know, it is a touch screen after all. You got all the multi-touch gesture support. My only real complaint, in fact, with the keyboard is the lack of backlighting, which is understandable, but also annoying when you're trying to work on this thing in the wee hours. And the MatePad Pro 13.2 also, of course, has full support for Huawei's M Pencil stylus, which is sold separately. You'll have to spunk up extra cash for that one. But you know, if you're a more creative type, unlike my good self, you want to get all sketchy and everything, you've got that dedicated Huawei Go Paint app slapped on here, which is a bit of a cracker. And if you want any evidence that I have a complete lack of artistic abilities, just go check out my previous MatePad Pro 13.2 review, where I actually had a bit of a stab at that. I'm not going to replicate that mistake here. Now, powering the Huawei MatePad Pro 13.2 PaperMatte Edition is one of Huawei's current chipsets, the T92 I believe it is, although Huawei has remained typically tight-lipped over the whole situation as usual. It's backed by 12 gigs of RAM, the everyday running absolutely fine for all your various apps, etc. But of course, if you want to get gaming on this thing, well, you'll have to download APKs. I do encounter quite a few errors when I try gaming this way. But of course, you've got some absolute bangers there on the app gallery, including War of Drive and Thief, one of my favourites. Particularly good if you're on all of the crack. One of my all-time favourites on here, though, is High School Life. Mostly because you can just go around performing the most hilarious attack on people. Sadly, in my high school life, I never had an actual jetpack. I want to eat broccoli cream sauce pasta, you friggin' weirdo. It's definitely earned you an aerial attack. Unfortunately, a lot of these games tend to be quite ad heavy, and some of them just simply do not work. Good old Asphalt, I can't actually get past the login screen for some reason. Housed in that dinky notch up front on the Huawei MatePad Pro 13.2, you've got yourself an 8 megapixel selfie camera. This can capture your mug at full HD resolution, and it's great for those random video chats online. As you can see, not bothered at all by strong contrast. Yeah, the visuals aren't pin sharp, but they rarely are on these things. The quad mic setup clearly picks up your voice, even if you're sat quite a distance away from the tablet, so no issues there. And then, yeah, for some reason, you've got a 13 megapixel rear shooter here on the MatePad Pro, as well as an 8 megapixel ultra-wide snapper as well, which is just complete overkill. I don't know why manufacturers slap cameras on the back ends of their tablets in the first place. Maybe for scanning documents at an absolute stretch, but seriously, what is the point? If you actually find a decent, respectable use for one of these things, then let me know down in the comments below. Maybe I'm missing something obvious here. And the battery life pretty damn decent here on the Huawei MatePad Pro 13.2 as well. Not the absolute best out there. I've seen better from the likes of the Samsung Galaxy Tabs, for instance, but you've got a 10,100 mAh capacity cell, I believe it is. And this will happily give you hours of mixed use from this thing. You can do your split screen multitasking with various apps. You can stream music, you can stream video, and keep on going for the best part of a working day before you'll need to slap in a cable and get it charging back up. And on that front, absolutely zero complaints here as well. You got 100 watt supercharge, or whatever the hell it is that Huawei calls it. So that's even nippier than the 88 watt super fast charging of the previous MatePad Pro 13.2. So it'll take you under an hour to fully charge this thing back up. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a tasty wee nutshell is Huawei's fresh new MatePad Pro 13.2 PaperMatte Edition for 2025. As usual, you got some issues you're going to have to get around here, such as the lack of that Google support. Occasional problems with the touch responsiveness purely because those bezels are so supremely skinny as well. And of course, it certainly ain't cheap here in Blighty. £999 it is, although at least it comes bundled with that keyboard. And of course, you'll occasionally see deals on Huawei's website. Anyway, that's what this bald northern knobber reckons, but it'd be great to hear your thoughts on the Huawei MatePad Pro 13.2 down in the comments below. Please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, and have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you!